Anyway, I'm pretty well finished all of the interviewing and data gathering from this evaluation. I've been able to obtain, I guess, a series of perceptions and feedback and various assessments of performance of UNDP in this whole democratic governance program over the last few years, since about 2007 to the present. I guess I have three general sort of comments I would like to make. And I should stress that these are comments mostly that have been made by the partners of UNDP, government officials, the partners within governments and agencies, the funding partners, and so on. So I'm trying to consolidate and synthesize the feedback that I've received. And right off the bat, I guess I have to betray, I guess, a bit of an orientation, and that's the sense that there's been very positive feedback, almost uniformly across all of the programs and projects. But I guess the first thing that comes to my mind, and I've been here in Montenegro a few times over the years, I guess is the really significant growth in the program and the portfolio itself. So long ago when I was here, it was only a few years ago, it all started with one very successful capacity development program. And since then, this has grown to now where there are about 14 ongoing projects and programs over a very diverse range of capacity and governance topics in several ministries and institutions and organizations of the government. So that is significant. And to me, it's significant by the fact that Montenegro is an EU accession country. And a lot of EU accession countries, you think that maybe the role of UNDP would be diminishing over time and the European Union and others would be taking a much more important role, which they are, of course. But I think concurrent to that, UNDP has been taking on an even more important role. And I think, I don't know whether that's surprising or not, maybe it is, or maybe not so much surprising in view of the fact of the performance of the projects and the relationships that UNDP has developed. So that's the growth of the program. And it's moved from capacity development into areas of rule of law and human rights, local governance, security with respect to demolition of all of the hazardous waste and demilitarization and so on and so forth, which is a significant one. And also very recently is anti-corruption. And all these are very interrelated. And the common theme that ties it all through is that continuing support to developing capacities within government administrations to meet just ongoing reform needs of the government as a transitional economy, and also to meet conditions for EU accession. So that's significant to me, just that number of projects that have come up. A second thing, I guess, that has been mentioned to me is the broad range of the types of assistance that has been provided to government, from training to helping in publications, to doing capacity assessments, to helping in developing project management capacities, and so on and so forth. It's just a very broad range of inputs. But what's the feedback? I guess this is what has surprised me, and I've met with perhaps well over 20 government institutions, agencies of government, and key donors that have been involved. And I guess the themes of where has the performance been, I guess, for projects that have been completed, some are ongoing and some are just starting. But anyway, this is the sense that comes back, is the high degree of relevance of the projects and programs to the priorities and needs of government. Again, being driven by that Euro-Atlantic agenda, the European Union reports that have come out, the conditions and so on, all of those things that need to be satisfied by the country to achieve candidate and ultimately European accession. So each one is highly relevant to individual needs of the ministries as well as to the government itself. So that's fairly significant because oftentimes projects sometimes tend to drift away from relevance and then they become rationalized. A second thing that's come out is the high degree of complementarity between what UNDP is doing and what other players and actors and stakeholders are doing, to the sense that there are a number of joint and collaborative initiatives. And one very, very positive feedback I just got the other day was my meeting with the United States Embassy in terms of some collaborative work on anti-corruption training in the Judicial Training Center. Extremely pleased with the whole process, the nature of the partnership with OSCE, UNDP, US, and with the Judicial Training Center and so on and so forth. And again, that's an example of several of those sorts of feedback that I've received. They're highly effective, these projects, in terms of doing what they have said they would do. I think the government officials in particular have commented on the fact that, I guess that's summarizing it in terms of why these things are working and what government expects from UNDP in terms of performance, what sort of sets UNDP apart or distinguishes it in terms of this ongoing success, is the high degree of responsiveness that UNDP demonstrates. not only in constructing a project or a program, but once it's developed, things change, priorities change. So sometimes design elements can be changed very quickly to meet this particular need or priority within the government. So that degree of responsiveness combined with flexibility is highly valued by ministries and also the funding donors and so on. A third thing, I guess, is that dynamic interaction between the project and program personnel and the operational management components within the client ministry. That is ongoing and dynamic, often secured through co-location of project staff with the counterparts, and that is considered a very positive feature. A fourth thing is the fact that the solutions that are delivered, whether it's training, a capacity assessment, a publication, is very demand-driven and based on local needs. And the comment was made to me often that there has been experience in government where sometimes an international solution or a conceptual design is imported from far away that isn't particularly relevant. But what has been done here is adapting to very specific local needs. Another example of that, I'll just throw it out, I guess, is with the Ministry of the Interior and Public Administration, was the development of a booklet or a manual on intermunicipal cooperation, which was first and foremost based on questionnaire and a needs assessment. And the fact that this was published, it's a report that the senior managers within the ministry have told me is not on the shelf. It's been broadly distributed and highly appreciated by officials at the local level. That has basically made them much more aware, of issues and opportunities surrounding intermunicipal cooperation. And it's really that kind of engagement and also the sharing of experiences from other countries in the immediate region, which UNDP has facilitated. So these are I think, some of the key features that demonstrate or explain the success of the programs. But if you want to add it all together and say, okay, well, what's the main criteria of success? And I say, okay, what is it? And most of the folks will say it's really the quality of the people, the quality of the program and project staff. And I perceive that over and over and over again. And that's really encouraging because I guess it demonstrates a number of things, how well UNDP and government can select the staff that will be involved in the implementation of these projects. But there's more to it than that. There are these softer qualifications, in terms of the attitudes, the enthusiasm, the commitment, the dedication, and very often, performing over and above, a terms of reference or the call of duty. And I see that all the time in talking to the program staff and also talking to the government counterparts. And all that, of course, is managed, in a well-managed framework. So these things just don't happen by chance. They also happen because there's a management design behind it. So that comes really down to it, is the quality of the management, the quality of the staff that lead to the success of these projects. Now, looking at the future, and again at this juncture, as Montenegro gets into negotiations and potential candidate status, actually the demands from government will become much, much greater, with a much greater flow of funding and support, with continuing capacity constraints and absorption capacity challenges within the government. So the fact that UNDP in this particular program is working with different partners and different governments in key ministries and agencies, right, that will meet the top priority conditions of the EU, augurs really well, I think, for the ongoing support and re-engagement of UNDP, particularly in this cluster. Because I think the political conditions which prescribe a broad range of governance and capacity development initiatives is going to be really pivotal. We've seen that now over the last 5 years of a tremendous growth of these projects. So my hunch and what folks have said within government and other agencies is that you have to finish what you started and stay with us until we achieve accession to the EU. So as an evaluator, that's a very sort of encouraging and positive things to hear, because often in an evaluation you hear a lot of maybe things don't go so well, but here I think it's somewhat exceptional that things have gone so well, and the positioning is so well done. So I compliment, I guess, UNDP, but also the partners, because it takes different parties to make this work, not just UNDP. It's really the government and the officials there that are very much driving that agenda, very well articulating their needs and negotiating with UNDP and other donors and funding agencies how actions and technical assistance and so on can be delivered. So that's basically my impressions to date. I have yet to finish my evaluation report, much more data to collect, but I don't think it's going to deviate too much from these initial impressions and findings.